Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So, I've done a initial offering here on Trump's epic frickin' debacle speech where the Democrats and the Republicans displayed complete incompetence and laughable childish behaviors. So today is Wednesday, March 5th, and I'm gonna cover the rest of the. I got about 20 minutes into it, so I have another hour and something I'll cover tomorrow. But I got a bunch of other stuff, some reaction from Morning Joe and some other stuff, some specific things he said about Zelensky and how that thing looks all staged now because of the Zelensky letter, all this stuff with it. It's kind of epic, and it's the most entertaining and most degraded State of the Union speech I've ever seen. And it's funny and entertaining and completely apocalyptic, and all these things. So let me get to this. I'm going to skip over a video, a Zelensky video that's from a couple days ago. That it was probably from the 3rd, and that was supposed to go up tomorrow. Anyways, I'm going to put that up tomorrow. So I'm going to put this up today, and I'll put the other one up tomorrow, and then the other one with Trump will be follow that, the second half of this video. People get a sense of this. I want to get it up while it's sort of topical and things. But anyways, here's the video. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today's video will be about the State of the Union. And so I wanted to start with some memes because they indicate the real State of the Union. But Forbes recommended this video clip, and I'll start here, and then we'll go through the whole. I don't know how long he spoke. I don't know what else he said. I don't know anything about it. I didn't watch any of it. Today is the day after. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of March. To look at my phone. And so I know nothing about it. Didn't watch any news. Like it was just one of those things. I was busy or whatever. Let's get into it here, right? I'm going to be doing more. Things are getting warm, so I'm going to be doing more farm work. I need to take some breaks from videos. But this is obviously a big deal. But this happened. This is sort of a resolution to the Zelensky thing.
I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything.
So, a couple of things here. Democrats are applauding us spending that much money. The Democrats are doing that. And this is the problem. Well, first of all, look at these two guys, right? So Trump has his two guys behind him. The vice president, the guy who's, these are the next in line. J.D. Vance would be next in line, and then for whatever this guy's name is. This guy did a great thing when he talked about going into the Oval Office with Biden, but other than that, I don't know anything. Mike Johnson, is it? I think Mike Johnson. He's like vanilla. I mean, this guy's totally vanilla. Even though he's from Louisiana, he doesn't have any sort of an accent that I can notice. Like I would never know where he's from if I heard him talk. But anyways, the important thing is that he has his two guys behind him. And it isn't there's a Democrat behind him. Remember, Nancy Pelosi used to be behind him all the time when they won after the midterms. So for 2 years, he had Nancy Pelosi behind him. But the thing about it is, the Democrats are applauding the waste of American money that's been used to encourage the Ukrainian people to kill themselves, thinking they're defending their land. And according to his Secretary of Health, Secretary Kennedy, he said all this land's going to BlackRock, right? Like that's, that to me is the most reasonable explanation of what's happening, because I know there's looting. And somebody who's an insider has said that all this stuff was to give all the resources over to BlackRock. So we gave them a $350 trillion, $1 billion of American taxpayer dollars, and BlackRock got deals. And all these fucking scumbags got paid off, Republicans, Democrats. and nobody's willing to say it other than Kennedy, and he's not saying it now, right? So, the thing about the devil, to use Christian terminology, it's the thing about demonic energy or devilish energy or demons and devils. They, they will have somebody be bad, right? It's not good versus bad. It's not like they're making you choose good versus bad, right? Where there's a saint and there's good people and the devil's convincing you to go with them, right? Like that's never how it is. Like there's not like a great person, a saint, a spiritual, whatever it is, giant, and the devil is encouraging you to choose the devil over the saint, which isn't really hard for most people anyway, because the saint wants you to give up a bunch of shit that you don't want to give up, right? And so, there's no real choice between, I mean, if there's a saint or a higher developed spiritual person in America, there would be only a small following of that person because that person would tell you shit you don't want to hear. And so you wouldn't want to go with that person, especially now. Just though, the devil's already, has already won because people are predisposed to the demonic stuff. But, in this situation, the devil just has to make the other person look a little bit worse, right? Which is what's going to happen right here.
Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah. You would say Pocahontas says yes.
That's funny, right? And so Trump makes himself look like a reasonable alternative to a bunch of fucking morons who are applauding not only the $350 billion Americans have spent, but the loss of life of both Ukrainian and Russian people. Again, these people who are the soldiers of these countries, they're wrecked. War wrecks people. Like people, war is savage. It turns you into a bad person, right? You just, or you're traumatized. It either kills you, you just disappear, your soul withdraws. War is hell. And it's not just a loss of life, but it's just all the people are negatively affected by this war. And they're plotting this thing like it's going great. Well, yeah, let's give them more money. And American taxpayers don't want to give them money, but it's just all the other things it implies, right? It's brutal. And so, I mean, he gives you a choice between the one thing and the other, right? Pocahontas, and like it's funny, and he mocks them, and you're like, oh yeah, they're horrible, the Democrats. Yeah, but he's horrible too. They're all both horrible because there's no real choice here. Okay, so let me show you this before we go back to this clip. Now, Trump did this horrible thing here, right? All federal funding will stop for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protests. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came. American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested. No masks. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, so you guys know how you feel about protests. They don't work. They backfire. Whenever you're protesting, you're handing more power over to whatever you're protesting, unless it is a government organized or, controller organized event. Other than that, protests backfire. They don't work. They piss everybody else off. There's a time where my family was suffering and like a couple of kids were sick, and I was coming home from a job where I worked as a clinician with sex offenders in a freaking treatment center. Horrible job. And I lived in the 5 College area near UMass, and I had to drive through the UMass campus to get home, through the center of town to get to where, I worked out in the country in Massachusetts in this treatment center, and then I had to drive home and, was kind of in a rush to get home. And the whole center was blocked because they were frickin' college students were protesting the Iraq war. And there was a social event. They were smiling and they were all like, high-fiving. And, in the middle of Amherst, they're protesting the Iraq war. Now, I was against the Iraq war, but I was protesting, wasn't going to do shit, and I had real problems. And they were preventing me from getting home because they were selfish and fucking immature and oblivious, and they're just doing this as a They're not a real thing. It's not a real thing. Protests aren't a real thing. So, I'm against protests in every shape or form because they don't work. People know you're pissed, and what's going to happen from the rest of the time, they're going to know what you want, and they're going to push it on you anyway, just like the gender stuff, right? And so, with that in mind, it's your American right to protest and be able to verbalize your opinion. And so, Trump was supposed to be anti-censorship, and this is censorship, right? So all federal funding will stop for any college or university that allows illegal protests. So these colleges are allowing protests which are not illegal. So this is getting rid of the Constitution, basically. Your freedom of speech, right to assemble. These are constitutional rights. And this piece of shit, this fucking demon here, who's, celebrating the Trumpification of Gaza, we're going to show you that again, is if you're a Trumper, you should by now know that he's fucked you. And he's going to continuously fuck you and the American people. Because Trump is only going to be here for 4 years. The country, even if he did great, and he's not, and even if everything he did worked, which it won't, he's fighting an uphill battle. Anybody is. Like, if he was serious about making America great again, which he's not, he can't do it. It's not possible. It's too much debt. And there's real problems and things going to happen. And so, there's all those things, right? Now, these protests, are whatever they are. But Trump's going to hand all these things, like he's going to get rid of these laws and rules and these things that protect you, your freedoms. And he's going to violate Passa Comitatus, and you Trumpers will be like, I don't have Trumpers, I don't think, listen to me anymore. But Trumpers will be like, oh yeah, he's doing great. Handing over, like, I said this about the Cubies. The Cubies who were supposed to be patriots. And they were like so fucking stupid. And they were pushing for the violation of your, habeas corpus, your judicial rights, which are some of the things that, if there's anything great about what the founding fathers did and what America is, it's that they just can't lock you up without due process. And, it can be perverted, it can be compromised, the system's rigged against you anyway, but at least you have these, right to a fair trial, and you have your Miranda rights and all these things. And the Cubies were pushing for renditions like these people who were going to be arrested, like Tom Hanks, and brought to Guantanamo Bay and given secret military tribunals and then killed. They wanted, or whatever it was, locked away. That's what the Cubies wanted. And they were saying they were patriots. They were still stupid because, when they were pushing for that, Joe Biden was set to be the next president, and he was going to have, he was going to have all this stuff that was, anti-constitutional himself with the freedom of speech, right? And so they're both pushing for this. Like Joe Biden and his people were pushing for getting rid of your constitutional rights, which we already know. And Trump's doing the same thing. And anything he does to open the door, and again, he sucks. Like it doesn't even matter if the Democrats ever seize power again. The Republicans suck just as bad. And so agitators will be in prison or permanently sent back to the country which they came. This is him just, being a dictator, right? America's students will be permanently expelled. Like he's saying what he wants these liberal colleges to do with their students if they protest, depending on the crime, arrested, no mask. Thank you for your attention to this matter. There's supposed to be separation between the president and the district attorney or the attorney general, or whatever it is, the person in charge of the court system, the federal court system, and there's supposed to be some separation between them. But there's not, because he's got all Trumpers in there, and they'll push for this shit, which is anti-constitutional. And remember, even like it's bad enough that he's doing it, but he's going to hand this over to the fucking outraged Democrats, the ones who are applauding right now for more funding to the Ukraine. So this is how this guy's fucking you and the American people in the future. And how selfish he is because he can't do shit. He can't make America great again. And so whatever bullshit he's doing, he's going to wreck the environment more. And he's going to take more of your money and loot more of the... He doesn't give a shit about you. Like, when would anybody think that he gives a shit about anybody but himself? He's a narcissist and a bad person. And so this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is how the devil works, right? Okay, so this is Trump's Gaza video, Trump's official, whatever it is here. And this horrific thing that he does, what's next for Gaza, and he does all this Trump shit, right? It's just horrific, this AI-generated thing that Trump is promoting. And it's so egregious. I mean, it's so inhuman, so demonic. This dancing bearded man in a Trump balloon and a fucking, where are the Palestinian people right now? Why don't you show where they are? Fucking money falling from the sky. The hummus, the Trump statue, the Gaza, fucking Trump shit, Elon Musk, and these two fat fucks sitting by the pool. It's so fucking evil, right? It's horrible. You think Palestine's a joke? What the fuck is this shit? God belongs to Palestinians. It can't be stolen. I mean, so there is horrible posts for Palestine. So, I mean, just anybody with a heart would be like, this sucks. Like, if you think this is, this is, a horrible thing. It's horrific. Trump's an evil piece of shit. And so, but this is the kind of guy he is, right? This is what Trump is. And so, let me show you the two memes, and then we'll get back to Trump and his bullshit thing here. Okay, so let me show you these memes. First one is Elon Musk admitting that bankruptcy is a thing, right? Like it's this, and like I've said over and over again, he's admitting more than just the that it could happen. He's admitting it is happening or it's happened, right? America is bankrupt. We just haven't admitted it yet.
The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending like over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing, it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here. And taking a lot of flack, and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I'd like to stack them up, But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done. And I'm confident at this point, knock on wood, knock on my wooden head, there's got a lot of wood up there, that we can actually find $1 trillion in savings. That would be roughly 15% of the $7 trillion budget.
And I've gone over the numbers, right? And I'm not an economic person, but I understand when you're fucked and, it's better than anybody, right? And, $7 trillion plus $1 trillion a year. The best they can do with Doge is pay the interest. Their goal is to trim $1 trillion off of the American, budget. And that's not even the things that they don't have budgeted in, right? I've said this over and over again. I show the clock, right? The world debt clock. But the reality is there's $1 trillion of interest, which he's stated, Elon Musk, and that, $7 trillion budget, the most they can do is pay the interest. And so they're not ever going to be paying on the principal because they have to get it under $5 trillion in tax revenue. And they're not going to do that, especially with all these wars and other bullshit things they're doing. So we're bankrupt. He's admitting we're bankrupt without admitting it. And then Trump here.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
So we'll go back and watch that again because it actually was funny. But the Democrats are applauding giving more money and costing more lives and having a pathway to World War III with Zelensky. And Trump is bringing up World War III and Elon Musk is bringing up bankruptcy because those are real things that are going to happen because they go hand in hand. One of the ways to stave off bankruptcy is doing bullshit wars, military-industrial complex things, which is part of what this is going on. All these other wars we've had over this, the wars in the Middle East and now the Gaza thing and these other, whatever else is going on. And then to rebuild these countries, which is going to cost you trillions of dollars that, we don't have because it's just printing money. And, World War III and bankruptcy go hand in hand. American going bankruptcy, American going bankrupt, and World War III are two things. And both sides have led to this. And neither one is being honest with you where we are. but they're saying it. They're bringing up the word bankruptcy in World War III. His guys, right? And because it's happened. And they are all they're looting, what's remains of, because they haven't told you yet, right? That you're bankrupt, that you don't, your currency is insolvent, your economic system's insolvent, the banks, the American dollar, it's all fucked, right? And, World War III is going to be the outcome.
Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes.
There she is applauding. Look at fucking Pocahontas. Look at her applaud. Like she's fucking, I'm a proud woman. I'm standing up to Trump. Like, fuck. That's how fucked we are. Trump and his horrific Gaza video. Like, this is what I've been saying for years. It's right there, right in your fucking faces. And Trumpers won't see it because they're like, all right, look at her applaud. She sucks. And the Democrats will see it. Okay, so, there she is.
2,000
Defiant,
people
standing up to the bully.
are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not
There's Russian and Ukrainians.
Americans.
They're not Americans. They're Russian and Ukraine. He's talking to kindergartners, right? They're not Americans. They're Russian and Ukraine.
But I want it to stop.
I want to stop anyway because I'm this kind of guy. I'm not just for Americans like killing each other. I'm not just there to stop Americans killing each other. Just in Gaza, I don't give a shit about the Palestinians, but the Russians and the Ukrainians, sure. I care about them.
Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened.
Ooh, whoa.
And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have an ocean separating us, and they don't. But we're getting along very well with them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's
See, they show the Democrats, they're all pissed off. She's watching Melda.
equalize. You got to be equal
No, she's trying to talk.
to us.
They got all these fact checkers. She's got their defensive posture. I mean, they're just, look at the Democrats. Like, they're just like their nuts have all been clipped off, right, by Trump. Like, they could do nothing but freaking applaud every time he says something that might be something he's trying to say is bad. And they're like, well, that's good. Let's applaud. Yeah, more money to Ukraine. Again, he's the devil, and they're the demons, right? Like, he's like, hey, look at all these demons out here. And then, you look at them, you're like, well, he must be the good guy, right? So, but it's just like, why would they even show these people and her again?
But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you.
Okay, so he clipped his nuts. So this now looks fake, and it's hard for me to believe that they were, especially Trump, that they were able to stage this thing the way they did. And they could have, but I don't think they're that good actors. Zelensky was the catalyst. Like, he was the one that was speaking out of turn. In terms of the official story coming from the Trump world, they told him not to talk about security agreements. And anybody with common sense would realize if America has an interest in minerals in the parts of Ukraine that are, under Russian attack, that they would be American casualties because there'll be American contractors and these developers of these, mining out these resources, and so, and again, Zelensky's turning this shit over to America, and this is Ukrainian wealth, right? And we don't know what kind of a deal the Ukrainian people are getting out of this, right? I mean, other than the fact that the $350 billion is gone. And the Ukrainian people aren't going to see that. And it'll be rebuilt, at American taxpayer dollars and, for these international business people who will be exploiting these resources. It's a rich, resource-rich place. And whatever they're going to give Putin to agree to this. But if America was in there and Russia bombed these facilities and killed American citizens, then World War III would be there. It would be on, right? And Zelensky knew that going into that whole thing. So whatever that was, whatever he was told to do, whatever that fucking thing was, again, it's hard for me to say that it was organic or non-organic because I don't think they could have pulled that off, but whatever. But now it looks fake as fuck because they have this letter, which clearly was written by Trump, because Trump's team said, this is what you got to say. So Trump could read this letter. Like, this is Trump's victory, where he gets to read this letter like he pulled something off and he's a negotiating genius because he told this prick that he had no cards, this actor. And, the whole thing, now he has a letter at the best time for Trump to be able to read this letter. And all the Trumpers will be like, oh, he did it. Look at he's playing chess while Zelensky's playing checkers. Yeah, he's fucking taking your money and giving more money to the Ukraine because that's what's going to happen. And they're going to turn it into profit for, according to RFK Jr., BlackRock and these other companies like Halliburton. And Trump and his family are going to get money. They'll get fucking paid. They'll get, it's looting of what's left of American wealth. It's taking the collective money and then give it to private companies, and these politicians all get fucking a chunk of it. And, where's Kennedy to speak up against how this is going to go to BlackRock, right? Or these other companies these evil companies are developing all this shit, right?
I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago.
Just at a great time. It's a wonderful time so I get to read it and shove it in the Democrat's face and show how I'm a genius.
Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
So I'm not really sure how I should do this. I want to get this up earlier. Today's Wednesday. I should get this up today, but I already uploaded a video. I have 2 videos waiting to go up to be made public. So I'll figure this thing out, and I'll put a introduction so you already have known what I'm going to do. So why am I talking about it? So I want to go to Morning Joe because I want to see how bummed they were. And they didn't disappoint. Here's the opening to their show today.
Man, this is, I gotta be honest with you. By the way, I think the speech is gonna be great, but I don't know how you do this for 9 minutes.
The hardest thing was doing it during Biden when the speech was a stupid campaign speech.
Okay, so they're hot mic'd. So then they were like, all right, because Trump is going to give the most partisan speech ever. And so they're shitting on him here, but it means nothing. Like they got him a little bit, because this guy says Biden gave a partisan, political speech, and then Trump, of course, is going to give even a worse one because it's Trump.
Joe Biden, the worst president in American history. I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do.
Okay, let's go back a second here. See, I gotta grab that shot right there. See, they're making it, they're doing this, right? This kind of thing. the earlier one. We'll stop it again. So this is their fade. This, almost, like some sort of, let's see it with the other one here where they do it. The first one.
Or to make them stand or smile.
This before this thing was right here.
Democrats in front of me. Joe Biden, the worst president in American history.
See, like this.
I look
That fade they're doing. It's a weird fade to do, right? So Trump's saying that he's...
at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do.
That's called a wipe. I meant wipe. They're doing these weird wipes. And they're doing this purposefully. And so it's almost like a photo negative, right? Like a anti-universe, like an antimatter universe or something. And so Trump's talking like he just went through a divorce and there's nothing I can do to make her happy, right? And 100%, well, 50% of the blame goes on Trump, right? Like Trump did everything possible to piss off the Democrats. Like he can't say, I reached out, I tried, no, you did nothing. Provoke them. I mean, they took the bait and they wanted to do this and they made it all about Trump. Whatever the Democrats have done, they're, both responsible for this horrible relationship. But this, let's get into this other part of the speech here, these other things he's saying. Like, these are all like, it's just a big fuck you. So when you say something like, I can't do anything to make them happy or applaud or do any of that shit, right? You're saying we're no longer going to be able to work together. There's never any chance of that, and it's not my fault. Which, at least 50% his fault. I mean, the Democrats suck. There's no doubt about it. But, Trump is Trump, right? He's fucking,
Ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me.
Like me.
How did that work out? Not too good.
Boom.
Too good. As
See,
you
that's it's really petty. Let's get that wipe here. See, just bizarre, right? Like this whole thing. Like, why use that? Like, it's almost like they've been hit by a nuclear bomb, right? Like he's talking, and a minute later, the bomb went off, and everyone's been vaporized in this. Like that's just this. It's a weird wipe to do. Like I don't even know where they got this wipe, right? To make it do this, right?
As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. A woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her?
No, look at him, Mike. No. Like, why is he calling out Stacey Abrams? I think it's because Elon Musk says it's some big scam.
SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion.
See, like Trump just cares about the money. He has no idea the effects of AI or any of these things. I mean, he's so clueless and so thoughtless, and he's just all about money and status. Like, things that are, he's the greatest, and these are wonderful, the people that are on his side, and, anybody who's on his side and validating him, like Elon now, is wonderful because he's validating Trump, so he has to be great. And the greater he makes Elon, the greater he is, right? Because if somebody that great is saying Trump's great, so, that's all Trump cares about. And so everything that he's doing is centered around that because Bibi kisses his ass and Putin kisses his ass, and so they're great. And, all the all these relationships. And anybody who wants to work Trump just has to butter him up. And now he's getting Zelensky to do it with that fucking letter, wherever that happened. And so, the other things that happen, and he did this with RFK Jr. and people that are on the right, they could possibly do good things. But, there's people are all compromised because they have positions of power. And, RFK Jr. said this shit about how BlackRock was responsible for is going to get the reaps the get the reap the rewards of our investment in the Ukraine, your investment, my investment of our taxpayer dollars, and it's going to go to these corporations. So Trump will roll all these things out, and it's going to be martial law. And I thought Trump was going to do martial law his first term. I made multiple videos because all the signs were there, and then that stuff happened with the end with the. But he didn't have the support. Like, he didn't have the cards, as he would say. Like, he wanted to do martial law. He was talking about it when there's all the BLM riots and the Antifa riots and all that shit, right? He was pushing for breaking posse comitatus, and he doesn't give a shit about anything. Like, he thinks that everything's stupid that's been done before. He has no, he's got a king mentality. And, well, this thing's in my way, let's get rid of it. Well, it's supposed to be in your way, motherfucker. Like, this is what the whole idea was behind the good things in the Constitution, was to prevent a motherfucker like this from gaining power and erasing all your rights and all your things and bringing it back to the so-called Dark Ages. And Trump can't wait to bring it there because he's just that selfish and it's all about him, right? But it's hilarious. Like, this is also hilarious because, he's bringing truth to how politics really is. He's bringing the scumbag out of the Democrats, right? By being a scumbag himself, he's just degrading them to what they really are, where they're, and how partisan it really is, or how, no matter how much this stuff is scripted and acted, people get into their roles. They start believing their own bullshit. I talked about that. When people go in covert operations, they end up being compromised because they buy into their role. Like, just actors do this. Like, the guy played Superman, and, Sean Connery had like a mental breakdown from being James Bond. Like, they start thinking of themselves, and other people are reflecting it back at you, right? So Sean Connery go out to eat, and people will be, oh, it's James Bond, right? They start, like that guy who plays Thor, I think he thinks he's Thor, right? There's, it's reflected back to you, right? I refer to him as Thor when I see him in another movie, right? Some of these Marvel characters. And so if you start thinking of yourself in that way, and people are always reflecting back because they've seen you in a movie and they identify you as that character, you start believing in it. And it doesn't take that long to do that. And so, these things are, they're staged, sure, but they're also, whatever script there is there, whatever control there is there, there's the human element, and there's the, to pull this off, they have to kind of buy into what they're doing. And so, there's all that. It's like a big mess. It's like I talk about with sports.
Investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. In recent years.
So that was a wipe that, so here, but look, it looks like, you could say these are ghosts. They're going like the spirit, like, this would be an aura if it's a positive thing. But MSNBC isn't doing this for positive reasons, right? And so this is, it looks like a bomb went off in the, taking out all these people, right? Like all these people, all these leaders, like a nuclear bomb just hit them, and they're, 1 minute Trump speaking, the next they're a vapor. They're all been, they've disappeared.
In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. The United
right here.
Left lunatics.
Boom. Just these guys over here. With a wipe, this is a good one. I don't have to show you the other one. This will be my thumbnail here, right? So they've erased these guys' faces, right? They're erasing them. It's like they're, and your subconscious pulls up. Your subconscious, when you're watching TV shows and movies, doesn't, understand you're watching a TV show or a movie. To your, like, various levels of your other parts of your mind. You see this and you pick up all these things. That's why they've done all these subliminal type stuff, right? This is subliminal programming, and they're erasing the government here. They're erasing Trump, and they're blurring out their, the whole thing, right? So it's an interesting wipe to choose.
The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense, with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes.
I mean, just I love it. It makes me happy, but it's fucked. It's the same. It's two things, because Pocahontas, it's a derogatory term. I name call and do things here, and it's they're all degradable. Like, these are all horrible people, but there's a decorum, and I'm glad he's taken it down, and not because it's a good thing or he's a good guy, but it's all bullshit, right? All this fake decorum, and he's brought it into this like 8th grade level name calling and shit that he does, right? Because that's always why I liked Trump as a president, because not that he was a good president or a good man, but he brought the truth out about how Washington D.C. is a place of scumbags, right? And all these guys who, Mike Johnson just appears to be one of those like really smart guys who grew up in, rich family, and he probably went to Yale or frickin' Harvard or some shit, very polished. This guy went to Yale, poor guy went to Yale and Harvard. And they all, they learn about etiquette and they learn about all these things, right? And they're wearing their fancy suits and things like this. But they're all laughing now, right? And the left is completely, Elizabeth Warren's completely triggered, and they're all triggered, but their dark side's coming out because he's so lowbrow and all this shit. It's great because it's truth, but it also is horrible because it's truth, right? Because the truth is that we have scumbags and people who are fakers and actors running the government, and they brought this con artist in, this grifter, who, speaks truth to it and makes all the people who, he's like a Pied Piper, where people are like, this guy's telling the truth. Well, he's telling the truth about how shitty the other side is. He's good at telling you how bad other people are. But what about him, right? Is he a good person? Was he a good man? No. Does he care about you? No. So, and even if like wasn't the case, like he did care about you, he couldn't do this if he was a good person. Like, he wouldn't be the name calling and doing the stuff like that, degrading the government. But the government can be degraded because it already has been degraded, right? Like, all this stuff that they show you is like, there's some of it's just always been there. This kind of decorum, this etiquette stuff, it's always been there, but it's never been real. Like, there's always, these guys would come out with their fancy wigs on and talk about all the bullshit they talk about the founding fathers, and then they go home and rape their slave women, right? So it's like, it's fake. These people aren't elevated. They're just because they have money and they have culture and they are educated. They're barbaric in their nature. The royal family, this going all the way back to England. These people are like, monsters that act like they're above everybody because they have, these manners and etiquette and these fancy clothes and bullshit, right? And Trump's bringing that to reality, which is, in one way a good thing. Another way it's, well, yeah, but now we're fucked, right? Because it's the illusion that keeps the system going. Look, she's so freaking stiff and mad. She's applauding, she's calling me Pocahontas, but I'm going to show him. I'm not going to stop clapping.
A decidedly partisan address from President Trump last night.
Look at this dude in her new hairdo.
For a joint session of Congress. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It is Wednesday, March 5th. With Joe, Willie, and me, we have the co-host of our fourth hour and contributing writer at The Atlantic, Jonathan Lemire. The host
this guy.
Of Way Too Early, Ali Vitale.
Ali Vitale, boom.
And co-founder of Axios, Mike Allen. Joe.
Boom, the heavy hitters are here.
What a night. What did you make of it?
Well, I just heard on Ali's show one of the best summaries. It really was almost like it was written by Chat GPT. I mean, that's Jake said that. I was thinking fifth verse, same as first, second, third, fourth. Willie, there were the insults, there were the taunts, there were the exaggerations. There was a partisanship, top to bottom. There was the personal attacks, attacking people by name.
This fuck.
And of course,
this smug little boy, right? He's a little boy.
the facts that were just wrong, whether it was the United
facts that were just wrong.
States spending more money on Ukraine, or calling himself the greatest president with the greatest start. Oh, by the way, did you hear that number 2 is George Washington? I have not seen the historical treatise on that yet, but that's what President Trump said last night.
All right. So they're not bummed like they should be. Like the first 4 years, they were way more bummed. Look at them. None of them are bummed. Like these two guys are kind of smiling. This is mild, not. I mean, they know like the tide has swung against them, and they are showing you that they were never that pissed off about. They were talking about what a disaster Trump was going to be, and how Biden. The way that they I mean, they were worse in terms of talking about Joe Biden being historical. Like they were talking about Biden being one of the best presidents ever. I mean, they said it regularly. There's accomplishments, and no one's accomplished more, and there's legislation and all this shit, right? I mean, the way they slathered all over Biden. But they've kind of accepted Trump. This is a weird thing that's happened. And they know that within 4 years, that this is going to shit the bed. It's going to shit the bed sooner than later. And then they'll have the midterms, and then they'll be demonizing a Trump, and then Trump will be, sent out to pasture or prison or what the fuck they're going to do with him. And then there'll be, nothing. Like there'll be this huge vacuum because of the personality, the cult of personality that's Trump can't be replaced. You're not going to have another Trump. The Democrats don't have anything like that. But, it's just, I think everyone's kind of reconciled that the apocalypse is upon us. They don't, whether they know it or not, it's, they kind of, it's there. And it's really clear in this sense. Let me cover a little bit of the address, I think. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. I might wrap this video up here and then cover the rest in this follow-up video and do more, whatever it is. There's just shit happen every day, and I'm like a couple videos ahead, which sucks because this is all timely, so I can either release a bunch of videos and get back to doing, a video a day, and then releasing it the next day, whatever. But, I don't know what to do here because this is, like I said, timely, but also like there's a lot of shit to go through. Like they just showed you some of the highlights, but I'm sure that's all great. So I'm editing. What I'm going to do is show you the introduction. They kick guys out. Like there's shit going on right off the bat. I'm going to show the whole thing. So I'm going to do this in 2 parts. I'll get whatever I can do done today and get it up. Then I'll do the second part. Then I'll have another video that's going to be released later. That's going to be, or maybe I'll put that video up. I'll just put up a bunch of content and then take a day or 2 off and let people catch up with it. Anyways, I'll announce it in the beginning of the video, but let's get into the initial the beginning of this thing. Look at this fucking guy. What's wrong, bro? I'm going to cover the beginning of this. I'll do this in 2 parts, I think. So this is a long ass thing, over 2 hours, and we're starting 23 minutes in. So there's an hour and 50 minutes left. Look at him come. Here he comes. This is the equivalent to the Oscars, where politicians they have a number of these things, but this is the big one where they tell you, the State of the Union is strong and all these things, right? Now they're calling it Address to Congress. They used to call this a State of the Union. It used to be in February, but this, it's a little bit longer. I think Trump wanted to have some accomplishments to come in here with. Woo. There are times when the Democrats and Republicans would both applaud. And now that never happens. I don't think it happened with Biden, where they would both applaud. They would all get up and they would do standing ovation. But now, like Trump said, there's nothing he can do to get them. They'll never applaud him, right? But they've accepted him in ways in the second term they didn't the first. The Supreme Court justices here is good. Remember these scandals, and they never panned out to anything. This guy's got a hearing aid. these Joint Chiefs of Staff, these generals and stuff. These kid fuckers, right? These generals or whatever. Remember that woman came out and said they called them cherry Marines, and they were, these guys were all, these leadership were all white gay dudes, and her husband was a colonel. She was like some kind of, I don't know if it's true or not, but it, made a circuit around the Truth Committee. Woo! USA, 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 ASU. Look at this fucking big ass fucking MAGA hat. Trump was right about everything. Jesus Christ. Like, that's your guy right there. Like that's the number one Trump guy out there. Look at him flying up here. Like, this is a WWE. I mean, brutal. Just totally another WWE thing. Like, degrading this thing into some, This is not for smart people, right? Woo! Woo! There's my speech, motherfuckers. Take it. Fucking eat it right there. That's good thing. Let's put it down. There's Melania. What are these? Look at Melania. It's like so much taller. I wonder if Barron's a giant, like. Look at Obert made it. Woo, yeah, do it. Where's the Democrats? Show the Democrats fucking sucking lemons over there.
Thank you.
Who's that? Oh, the girl. It's the swimmer. The dude. Is that guy?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States.
Melania. Woo! These guys are not getting up here. Thank you. You cheated on me with hookers and prostitutes. Thank you.
Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
Woo! Woo! This is not for smart people. If you believe that statement, it's like an IQ test, right? Like, America's not back. They were talking about bankruptcy in World War III. We're not on the brink of those things. In many ways, we're in World War III already. But we certainly are in bankruptcy, which Trump is one of the, the kings of bankruptcy. Like, that could be a nickname for Trump, the king of bankruptcy. USA. This fucking guy's here. This dude. Shifty shift. Eat it, Shifty. Skifty skift.
6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting.
Golden age is like when golden age is always In American terms, you're in your golden years, right? Which means you're retired and you've lived your life, and now you have this short period of time before you die, which is an accurate assessment of what's happening.
Taking action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
Boom. Look at him go. Boom. Stand up, motherfuckers. The way he pointed, that was a stand-up line. You're supposed to give him for round. You're supposed to stand there ovation. Look at this fucking guy. Pull your pants up, fucker.
I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
Boom. It's fucking better. It's
The
all
American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback.
good. A bankruptcy in World War III. You guys already named it. You guys said it. It's there.
Likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again.
Because there won't be anything called America in 4 years.
Been anything like it.
There ain't been anything like it.
The presidential election.
See, if it was true, he wouldn't have to say any of these things, right? It's a narcissist and a fraud that has to constantly say how great they are, right? Have to tell you how much better they are, how great they are. If something's truly, you devalue it by speaking about it, right? You devalue your accomplishments by talking about it. Like if you do something great and you tell everyone how great it was, it loses its value. Every time you say something about it, it diminishes it. You do something heroic and then you tell everyone how great you were and what happened. You can tell the story like if something happened and nobody was there. It's like a fishing story, right? Where you exaggerate the size of your fish that you caught. Whatever it is. Like it's, any of these things. It devalues it. And Trump does that. He talks about how great it is. If it was great, he wouldn't have to tell you how great it was, right? Everyone would know it. Of course, people are stupid in the way the world is now. People can't value things, but none of these things are great. Trump's gaudiness when he went into the Trump Tower and they went to his house, his condo or penthouse or whatever it is. And it's just like gold everything and just, in a way it's just gaudy. Like it would be impossible to live there. It's just buying whatever's the most expensive and best. Someone without like any real taste, and it's just gaudy. It's like nouveau riche kind of stuff. Like it's just there's no sense of like it's somebody wins the lottery and just buys things because they're expensive, and there's no rhyme or reason. It's just filled with clutter and fucking goofiness. Like it's not real. It's not really great. It's not really. There's no artistry here, right? It's him just bragging about his stuff that he's done, and most of it's bullshit or bad. And, he just, we're great. See, we're doing the greatest stuff. We got the greatest people. I'm the greatest guy.
Election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us
It's not a mandate. You barely squeaked by in most of them.
an electoral college victory of 312 votes.
You beat Kamala Harris, who was an unelected. She didn't even make it through the primary. If they had primary Kamala Harris, she would have finished like 3rd or 4th out of 3 or 4 people, right? I mean, Gavin Newsom, these other people. If there had been a primary, Kennedy probably would have won or been 2nd. They would have had to rob him of it. And so if they had a Democratic primary, which they didn't, Kamala Harris would not have been the nominee. And Joe Biden had to withdraw because he finally came out that he had dementia, which, Parkinson's, which again, that's all kind of disappeared, but that happened. And, we had a president who wasn't president. People were running the show. Mike Johnson had that great story about going into the office and being set up because there's all those people, Chuck Schumer and Kamala and all his handlers were there, and he asked to speak to the president alone, and he asked him about a certain bill, and Biden thought the bill was something else. Like they were just telling him, you know, this bill's for ice cream for everyone. Oh, I like ice cream, and he'd sign it. He had no idea what he was signing, and they had an auto signer. So there's other people that were running the White House. Like he didn't even sign things, and they just tell him this thing is going to be passed, and they would tell him what it is, and he didn't, he didn't know how to use the internet. Like he just doesn't know. His brain was gone, right? And so that's what they were replacing. So this is not a great victory. You beat Kamala Harris. She didn't even in the 2020 election, the primary, the 2019 primary. She didn't even make it to the primary. She didn't even receive one vote from anybody in New Hampshire. Like she disappeared. Nobody wanted her. Democrats didn't want her, right? Like you beat her, right? After a limp, in a time of great inflation with a lame duck, a senile president. It's not some huge victory. I mean, you couldn't have beat somebody that was, if Joe Biden had a good presidency, and people were psyched about there was no inflation. He couldn't have beat somebody because he had so many negatives, right? Trump's making this sound like he had, some huge mandate. You beat Kamala, right? Like Kamala's disappeared. She doesn't even exist anymore. Politically, like she's disappeared.
We won the popular vote by big numbers. And
again, this is, it's supposed to be talking about America. And all he's talked about is himself. Like it started at 23 minutes, so we're 7 minutes in this. This is just him talking about how great he is. And this is how his speeches were. What he was going to do, what he did before, how he's accomplished, how he's a great, it's just all about him. Like this is, this kind of bragging and narcissism, this is people who are Christian. Jesus didn't say shit like this, right? A sane or spiritual person wouldn't do this. Giving no credit to God, any of these things. He doesn't have, like he's a demon. He has no relationship with divinity at all, right? And so just, I mean, I like it because it's reality. He's saying out loud, all these people, all these people are just like him. There's no difference. He's just found a way to be himself and still get and brag constantly and still win a support, like a ravenous support system of the MAGA movement, right?
Counties in our country.
Okay, so what did he say that they did that? I didn't even catch that. So why is this guy waving his cane at him?
In many decades, we won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes.
They're holding up paddles. Where they are in the auction? What do the paddles say? Just show us what the paddles say. Why do they have paddles?
We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
They're saying, like, they're trying to fact check them. Is that what that is? Who's the guy with the cane? I could look it up. Okay, so let me go look up the cane guy. Okay, so that was the House of Representative member Al Green, who was from Texas, and was upset. He said he didn't have a mandate to cut Medicaid, and so he was removed. They kicked him out.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525.
He pointed and said, "Get him out." Now this guy's an elected official. He says, he just pointed him to kick the guy out, right? Trump is, censorship. He pointed at him and said, "Get him out of here," like just Trump's martial law shit, right?
That reads almost completely red for Republican.
Again, everything he says is to get, so he hasn't said yet anything he says the Democrats aren't going to applaud. Well, nothing he said they should applaud to. Like, he's completely saying, fuck you, you guys suck, and your guy sucked, and I beat you, that bitch that you replaced him with, and it was a mandate, your guys failed policies, and you're the worst president in history, and, like, how are they going to applaud to that? Like, like, you come out, that's how you begin the thing, right? Well, you guys they're not going to applaud anything I say. Like, fucking...
Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction.
They should have showed the guy being taken out, right?
Than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever.
Don't sit down, JD, you fuck. I got to applaud. Boom, get up, get up. Here's Newt Gingrich.
Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Gavel.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House.
But the thing is, he's being a prick. Now, I'm not, the Democrats suck, and we all know it. And they don't suck worse. They had power, and they sucked bad, and Trump's sucking really bad. That thing with the AI fucking generated Gaza thing, it's way worse than anything the Democrats have done. I mean, what he's proposing there, I mean, it's just bad. Like, that whole thing for him to promote that fucking thing and just... It's like an evil villain thing, right? You'd see in a movie. It's unbelievably fucking arrogant and all these things. But they all suck, right? But Trump's provoking the shit out of him. I mean, you can't, it's like he's calling your mother a fucking whore, right? Like, hey, you guys don't react to that, right? You know what I mean? It's what he's doing is totally bullshit, right?
To cease any further disruptions. That's your warning.
There's no mandate to cut Medicaid. This is where he gets cut off. Look at this thing. Look at that. Look at this fancy thing she's wearing.
Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
Boom. Get that motherfucker out of there with his cane. Beat the shit out of him on the way out. And how dare he say you had no mandate to cut Medicaid? Like, he's going to cut Medicaid and Social Security. They're gone. They have to go because they can't pay. It's not Trump's fault. It's not Biden's fault. I mean, they didn't do anything to help, but like it was already established, right? Eventually, that was going to happen. There'll be no Medicaid or Social Security. That shit's all gone. No, you're not even. There's not going to be a world where that will even matter because of the economy. Everything's going to be gone. Like, everything's going to change drastically. Like, this Agenda 31 shit is happening whilst Trump is doing this stuff. Like, Trump is saying he's making America greater again, and you can see the Agenda 31 housing going up all around you in cities and smart cities. All this shit's happening. It's not stopped.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members
What
continue
nationality
to engage
is he? Is he Mexican or Native American or a combination?
Willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order.
Boom. Get that guy out of there. How dare he talk about cutting Medicaid, that fuck.
Remove this gentleman from...
So let's go back a little bit. See, this is where Trumpers suck. Because no matter what Trump does, they'll never be able to see it. And it sucks for all the reasons I've talked about. But here...
Maintain decorum in the House and to...
Okay, so decorum. This is what I was talking about. Trump has violated... I was showing my wife this thing, right? And this isn't what this thing's about. Like, this is a tradition, and the tradition sucks, and it's unwatchable, and it's not, this is way better what Trump's doing. he's bringing a WWE flair to this thing, and because it would get old after a while. Like I mean, I don't like WWE stuff, but when it's done here, you get something new. It's something different. It's not better. It's degrading something that was already, or it's something that's degraded, and you're taking down the veil of degradation. But Trump's a piece of shit. He's not a fucking hero. He's not a saint. He's not a good person. He doesn't give a shit about anybody else. He isn't any of these things, At least anybody that doesn't kiss his ass, right? Like he's got his people. But, this isn't what this thing's supposed to be about. And Trump's violating all the rules, all the social etiquette. He's just coming in. I'm a businessman. I know more. I'm more successful. I've been bankrupt 6 times. He's the king of bankruptcy. He's a flim-flam man and a grifter who's going up there and just shoving it in these fucking people's faces. And there's no decorum to what Trump's doing. But with everything Trump, he gets to treat people a certain way, and they can't treat him the same way. Like, they're nasty if they treat him the way that, that he treats them. And so that's a shitty person. It's immature. It's, all the things, right? There's nothing good about any of this stuff. And so they're, call this decorum. Yeah, you're violating decorum, but Trump's violating decorum. Like, you're going to turn this into a shit show, and then when the other side reacts, you're going to punish them, right? You're going to kick them out. This is like, I mean, and there's no, this thing with the protests. Like, this is, you'll be arrested and prosecuted if you dare to speak up against Trump, but I'm against censorship. Fuck you. Like, fuck Trump and all this bullshit that he stands for, right? It's entertaining, though. It's totally better, right? So it's like both things. Like, this is I'm interested in watching this thing because Trump's giving one of his campaign shitty speeches where he brags about how great he is, and he talks about how shitty the other side is in ways that you haven't heard before in American politics. And he's doing it in the State of the Union. Everything's been about him, right? There, this, whatever this is, we're 11 minutes into this thing, and he said nothing about anything other than what he's done and what his people have done.
Cease any further disruptions. That's your warning.
I think this woman behind her has the poofy thing. It just looks like it's coming out of her head. Some woman's carrying a poofy thing up here.
Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared.
Look at Trump shaking his head. Oh, you're so wrong. You're a piece of shit, Trump, that provokes people. Like, you think you believe what you're. I think Trump believes what he's saying. I don't think he could do this otherwise. How much he's being handled. He doesn't know he's being handled, whatever. I can't imagine he's pulling this stuff off and he doesn't believe in it. Like, he believes in it in a way where he knows, like, he knows he's a grifter. He knows he's a fraud, right? He knows that these things aren't going to work out. They never do. They sound good. It's like he's selling you some bullshit development, it's a scam, and he knows it's a scam, like it's a Ponzi scheme, but he believes in it. Like, some reason he believes that, you're going to benefit from him stealing money from you and lying to you, right? Like, somehow that's going to fix America. His grift is that he believes in his own grift.
To direct the Sergeant at Arms to restore order to the joint session.
Woo!
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage.
Like, he just said, get him out of here. And he's shaking his head no. Like clueless. Like, you of course they're going to react this way. There's no other way they were going to react. Like, it's just, come on.
Willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum. The chair now directs the Sergeant at Arms to restore order.
Boom. Good, get him the fuck out of there.
Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
This sad woman here. See, this is someone holding. She's got I think that's supposed to be a fluffy pin she's got on. She's wearing that on her freaking dress. Just in case you're worried about the fluffy thing. Get them out of there. Oh, save Medicaid. They all had save Medicaid signs. So this is a prepared thing they decided to do. This is about him. He's going to have to get rid of Medicaid. That's done. And Biden would have to do the same thing. Social Security is done. America's fucking bankrupt. It's insolvent. These are unfunded liabilities. These are unfunded programs that aren't a part of the budget. They're not a part of the American budget, and there's no money for them. And so there's no, he's getting rid of all that shit, right? It's all gone. And when people realize that Trump stole all their shit, and the shit hits the fan, it's too late, right? It's all been done. Like he's looted, whatever. He'll come out. We'll see how this all plays out, but it's gone, right?
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across.
Some of it's that. Like the things that you could say are good things. Some of it's getting rid of the Democratic bullshit. So people if you focus on those, yeah, he's doing a good job. But there's all the rest of the stuff, right? There's all the grifting, all the stealing from you.
Our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it.
You didn't have a mandate to take, wait till the people find out what kind of job that you're doing on them, right? At some point, it's going to be obvious. And I'm going to enjoy the shit out of that when Trumpers realize he fucked them. Like, at some point, it's going to happen. Like, he'll have 10% approval ratings, or like the Trumpers are going to realize, just like they did after January 6th when he bailed on him. Like, he's pardoned them now, but he bailed on him. He threw them all under the fucking bus, which Trump does to everybody. And when they all turn on him, he's like, you guys don't appreciate me. Look at these pathetic limp dick motherfuckers with their little pallets out, little paddles with little signs on it.
In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency,
Except it's just me.
is the most successful in the history of our nation.
Fuck. Even he is like, fuck.
By many.
Boom. Yeah, stand up, motherfuckers. Have some McDonald's. That's a lie. False. Save Medicaid. Musk something. Save Medicaid. Musk steals. They got their paddles. These lip dick, pathetic little fucks, right? Little paddles.
And what makes it even more...
Go back here for a second. I would be... What's 3411, so... Here they are. This chair right here was probably that guy Green, so they probably sat him here because it was a planned protest. So he had access with his cane that he would be able to get out of there, right? There's some other missing seats, but he was sitting here so he could walk up to the front protest and this whole thing. It's pathetic. This is your response. This is all you guys got, you limp dick. That's a lie.
And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that?
Fuck, this is what Morty Joe was saying. All right, I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm not sure if I'm going to end it here or I might continue on a little bit more. But I'm going to cover this whole thing because it's totally different and it's entertaining. It's completely fucked. And it's Trump going, this is Trump going full Trump, which is entertaining. It's the end of our country. This is acknowledgement of the end of our country. We're not surviving this. Trump isn't, there's no making America great again. You can't have division. First of all, when there's division, when there's infighting, you can't win, right? Like, you have to have a unified country to get anything done. You can't have, this kind of division and, establish, you can't have one side just steamroll the other side and have success. Doesn't happen, right? And if that was possible, and it's not, the economy is so fucked that Trump or nobody can fix it, right? there's nothing that can solve the national debt and the overall debt. And, it's what happens when you have a debt-based usury system. And the moral degradation that's already happened. And the stupidity and all the idiocracy and all the, these kids are growing up addicted to the internet. I mean, it's a lack of connection to divinity and nature. And the whole thing's fucked, right? America doesn't, we don't have morality. People don't have morals and, character development, which I talked about in that other video. So it's all of these things, right? In fact, I'm going to put that other video up, and then I'm going to put this one up like at midnight or something tonight. I don't know how to do it. So that it gets, anyway, I got to strategize here. But, the country's fucked. There's no whatever. This is the end of it, right? This guy can't fix shit, right? You think these guys are going to fix anything? Come on. Anyways, let me stop here for a second. Okay, so I have, going to wrap up the video here. It's already 4 o'clock. I got to make dinner. I got involved in some projects, and I had a little issue. I got a weird cut that didn't really hurt, but bled. That was a whole nightmare. I had to put on cayenne pepper. Not recommend anything, but I couldn't get this blood to stop. It's just on my pinky, like smallest little cut. Anyway. But I'm going to continue. I'm going to do the whole rest of the speech in the next video. I'm going to put this video up tonight, and then I have another video that's ready to go I'll put up tomorrow. I said this in the beginning of the video, so no reason to repeat it, but just so people know. And I'll put part 2 of this up on Friday, most likely. And then, we'll go from there. There's going to be fallout and reactions and things. But, Trump is an absolute nightmare. And, he's in a totally different situation than he was 4 years ago, after he displayed himself as a piece of shit over Operation Warp Speed and the way he handled the election and all the shit that he did. And then, what he did for the next 4 years, whining about how he was victimized, and now he's going full Trump. And he's a loser. He's a good salesman, but he's not a good administrator and a good person he doesn't fix things, right? He steals things, right? He's not a fixer, he's a stealer. And so, and the Trumpers are just never going to get it, and the Democrats got no answer for him. All they can do is wait out whatever he's going to do over the next 2 years. And then, there'll be, even then, there's nothing they can do, right? It's just, I said this all along. Remember when everyone said he was going to go to jail and all this stuff, and they're persecuting him? Why didn't he go to jail? Like I said, when he's in jail or he's dead, tell me. Otherwise, they're not trying to kill him. He's doing exactly what the controllers want him to do. He is the weapon of mass destruction for the controllers to destroy the system. Everyone thought Biden was, but it's been Trump. It's always been Trump. Biden got away with all the stuff he got away with because of Trump. And now Trump is taking it to the next level, and America will be broken. They'll blame it on him. He'll be dead in a few years after he loses he's out as president. He's got about 6-7 years left, maybe. He'll disappear, and America will be fucked. And the Trumpers will be I believe the guy, whatever. There's plenty of evidence to show. And even if you didn't, they would have found another way. This is like Thanos stuff. This is inevitable, right? There's no avoiding it. So anyways, I'll wrap up the next one. It's entertaining. At least it's entertaining. For now. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing from the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.